So, good morning. Today, I just want us to look at a brief overview of the adrenal gland. So, in our video in the adrenal gland, we're just going to look at a brief overview. So, this is the structure of an adrenal gland. We know that the adrenal gland has two parts. We have the adrenal cortex, which is made up of three parts as well, which is the Zona Glomerulosa. So this one is responsible for production of mineralocorticoids. An example is aldosterone. So we know that aldosterone is responsible for reabsorption of sodium, or let me just say salt, and water. And it's also involved in the RAS, which is just the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. The other part is the Zona Fasciculata or Vasculata. So this one is just responsible for production of glucocorticoids. Example, we have cortisol. We know cortisol to be involved in a lot of functions. For example, it suppresses the immune system. 2 is responsible for converting glycogen to glucose. So we know that this glycogen is the excess form of glucose which is stored in the liver. It is also involved in stimulating peripheral blood vessels. So in a case whereby the patient is in a state of hypovolemia, so it stimulates the catecholamine receptors in the peripheral blood vessels. The other part is the Zona Reticulata. So this one is just responsible for production of gonatocorticoids. Such as DHEA. So this is actually involved in a state of, it's actually involved in a, or let me just say, those people who have, okay, let me just say stimulating libido, so your sexual drive. So this is about the adrenal cortex. The adrenal medulla is just responsible for production of catecholamines, which is just your epinephrine or adrenaline, also your epinephrine, adrenaline, and also dopamine, which is also a catecholamine. So these are the parts of the adrenal gland, and we know that the adrenal gland sits on top of the kidney, which is also called as the suprarenal gland. Yes. So many of the times whereby these parts of the adrenal gland develop abnormal cells, which they become cancerous. So in the Zona Glomerulosa, we have what we call Crohn's disease or syndrome. So this is just where we have excess production of aldosterone. So when there's excess production of aldosterone, meaning there's an increase in the reabsorption of salt and also water, and also there's overstimulation of the RAS. In the Zona Fasciculata too, when we have cancerous cells being produced, we call it Cushing. So in this case, there's overproduction of cortisol. So when there's overproduction of cortisol, there's increased breakdown of glycogen into glucose, and the patient can go in a state of hyperglycemia. And also, since we have stimulation of the peripheral blood vessels or the catecholamine receptors, this patient can also have hypertension. In the zona reticulata, same overproduction of androgens such as DHEA leads to a patient having, especially in females, they usually have male sexual features such as a deep voice, they usually have hirsutism. In the adrenal gland, when the cancerous cells being produced, we call this pheochromocytoma, which is just a benign tumor. So in this case, when there's overproduction of catecholamines, we see that patients have a tendency of developing hypertension, and in this case, it can be resistant hypertension. So in this case, we know that whether we give them the antihypertensives, it will actually be resistant because most of these catecholamines are being produced by a tumor. So usually the blood pressure does not actually go down. Yeah. So usually the only treatment for this is surgical removal of the tumor. That's why we can see improvement in the patient's condition. So this is just a brief overview of the adrenal gland. So the next time we meet, we'll actually go into detail on the physiology, and we'll also go on the anatomy of the adrenal gland and also pathology, and also a bit of pharmacology to see what type of antihypertensives we have. So looking forward to seeing you guys next time as well. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a good day.